What's up, YouTube? Decatog here, and you're watching the 100 Commander Deck Countdown. Number 100, Halfdane. Halfdane came out in the set Legends in 1994. It's an older card, definitely not the best that came out in that set, although there weren't really a lot of great cards. Most of them were stinkers. Halfdane is a shapeshifter. Originally it was a summon legend. This was before Legends actually had creature types. It's been errated to be a shapeshifter. It's 4 CMC to cast, 1, a white, a blue, and a black. It comes into play as a 3/3, but during your upkeep you can change its power and toughness to any other creature's power and toughness on the board. It's not a targeted effect, which is kind of cool. So you can affect your creature, your opponent's creature that has Shroud, um, or Hexproof or something like that. If there's no other targets, it stays 3/3. So originally when I built this deck, it wasn't necessarily the best time in my deck building life for Commander because it was still new. This was probably back in 2008, maybe 2009. I didn't really understand the concept of Commander. So in my mind, it was about getting the best cards that I had from those colors and throwing them into a deck. Halfdane originally was actually the third deck I ever built, but it was also the first deck I ever took apart. So I felt making this deck number 100 would be the best choice to kind of finish off that big countdown. So originally, the Halfdane deck I built first was kind of a poor concept. The idea I had was that I would take big creatures, sometimes not very good big creatures, but big creatures, and get them into the graveyard, and then somehow recur them back onto the battlefield with, raise dead effects and stuff like that. And then Halfdane would acquire their power and toughness, and then I would somehow give Halfdane evasion and kill my opponent with it. It's kind of a really simple idea. Back then, there really wasn't, to me, there wasn't really a whole lot of planning with decks, right? I didn't think of combos and these kinds of things because I was so used to building 60-card decks where I had 4 of every card in it, and combos were a lot easier. In a 100-card deck, it was a lot more difficult. I didn't really know what to do with decks, how to exactly build them. So, like I said, the idea was just put the best stuff you got in there. It was based on other decks I had before, but again, it was a 60-card deck. 100-card deck makes everything a lot more complicated. So that deck, the failure to that deck was the fact that I had everything in the deck Halfdane kind of relied on in order for it to get the kill. So the problem with that is when you're relying on stuff in your deck to make your commander work, once it goes away, if somebody counters a spell, or if, in this case, a creature gets killed or exiled, Halfdane does nothing. And it's just a 3/3, and it's not threatening at all. And so you effectively new to the deck. So how do I stop that? I can't. So the deck didn't work. It could, but it generally didn't. You get rid of the pieces, and it doesn't do anything. And that was the first kind of lesson that I learned about building commander decks, is that your deck really needs to be commander centric for it to really work. And what I mean by that is, you don't want your commander to rely on the cards from your deck. You want the cards from your deck to rely on your commander. Because if someone kills your commander, you can just cast it again because it goes to the command zone. Even though it costs 2 more, you can still do that. So you can have it keep coming back, and it makes it a lot easier for you to not have to worry about people killing off the main pieces of your deck when the main piece is always castable all the time. So that was a big lesson to learn. So when I decided to rebuild the deck, I decided to go with the shapeshifter theme. I thought it would be kind of fun because Halfdane was one of the first shapeshifters, and also it just kind of goes along with a better theme to the deck. So instead of making Halfdane huge and killing my opponent with it, the idea came about of why not use my opponent's creatures against them. So I included a lot of shapeshifters, a lot of copy effects in the deck. And there's still big creatures in it because Halfdane, you know, it's kind of fun to win with the card, especially an older card, and kind of making it work. So, yeah, the big creatures are still in there, but you know, your opponent's always going to have stuff that you can copy, and sometimes the generators that they make can be better than what you could do. So if you can copy their stuff, you might be able to do it better than they can. Right, so the overall deck breakdown, we have 66 non-land cards, it's including the commander, and 34 lands. There's 6 swamps, 8 islands, 5 plains, and 15 non-basic lands. We have 3 white and black lands, 3 blue and black lands, 3 white and blue lands, and 3 lands that can be anything depending on the situations. Then I have an Evolving Wilds and a Dark Depths. Evolving Wilds is one of those essential commander cards. I'll have another video for that later, but it's a card that you're going to want to have that in almost every commander deck, that along with Terramorphic Expanse, which is the exact same thing, it's just a different card. These are kind of simple cards. I mean, generally speaking, I want the colors to really interact with blue because it's my biggest color. So I have more blue lands or more lands that produce blue than anything else. Okay, then to go along with our lands, we have 6 utility artifacts, mana rocks, basically. This is going to kind of help the colors of the deck function. If I don't have the right lands in play, I can use these. Nothing really specific here. The Burnished Heart is one of the best cards they ever made. It's, again, one of those cards that you should put in every single commander deck. Commander Sphere is the same way. Armillary Sphere is a really great card. Basically, it's Burnished Heart, but it's not a creature. You're always going to want to have a certain number of mana rocks or utility artifacts to produce mana in your deck. Because you can't always rely on drawing the lands to do it. This also actually helps ramp your deck, which is getting stuff out faster. Definitely gives you a leg up on your opponent. Alright, so non-creature artifacts, we have Hedron Matrix, Sure Strike Trident, Geometric Nexus, Mirage Mirror, Mimic Vat, Manifold Key. Hedron Matrix is cool because I can copy my opponent's creature, or if I have a big beefy creature on the battlefield, I can use that to boost its power and toughness again, and then Halfdane can acquire the power and toughness of the creature. It gets the power and toughness after modifiers, so if I have a 15/15 creature in play after the Hedron Matrix equips it, I can get a 15/15 Halfdane. Sure Strike Trident is cool because I can put that on Halfdane or a big creature and basically nail my opponent for a lot of damage. Geometric Nexus is really good because it makes big creatures really fast, especially in a multiplayer game, because whenever they cast an instant or sorcery, I put counters on the Geometric Nexus, and then I can put a huge creature into play. Mirage Mirror plays off of the theme of the deck, so I can copy, you know, their artifacts, creatures, and enchantments, or even lands if they got something amazing. Mimic Vat, one of the best cards ever made. If a card's in a graveyard, it's not the end of it. I can bring it back with Mimic Vat, exile it, and start making copies of it. It can be really, really good, especially if your opponent has a certain combo in their deck or something like that. And Manifold Key is evasion. It's cool because I can untap artifacts, so I can use it for some of my other stuff, but I can also use it to make a creature unblockable, which when you have big stuff, you kind of need those kind of artifacts. Right, so next we're going to go through the white, black, and multicolored non-creature cards. I got Flaming Fist, Imperial Armor, Disenchant, Scion of Halaster, Final Parting, Chanter's Torment, Heartless Summoning, Cloud Kill, Dark Betrayal, Shadow's Verdict, Anguished Unmaking in the Party Hard, Shred Harder, Secret Lair. It's an awesome, awesome art. Clutch of the Undercity, Counter Squall, and Swift Silence. So Flaming Fist kind of goes along with the Halfdane is the way you want to win the game with commander damage. It gives my commander double strike. Imperial Armor makes stuff huge if I have a lot of cards in my hand. Disenchant is a really good utility card. You're going to need it in almost any deck that has white. The Scion of Halaster allows me to kind of cycle through cards in my library to get the kind of stuff I want. Final Parting is kind of cool, and you'll see why, but it's a tutor, so I can get a card from my library, but I can also put a creature in my graveyard. I have some stuff that does interact with the graveyard, so it's kind of useful. Chainer's Torment is pretty cool because it's life gain. I can do damage to my opponent, but I also make a huge creature equal to half my life total rounded up. So it's a really good target for Halfdane. Heartless Summoning is useful because I have a lot of bigger creatures in here, so I don't care if they get -1/-1. Having them cost 2 less is huge. Cloud Kill is one of those situational cards because I have a lot of big creatures. I can kill a lot of the smaller stuff on the board. Dark Betrayal's creature kill removal, which is necessary. Shadow's Verdict kind of goes along with Cloud Kill. Exiles creatures and planeswalkers with mana cost 3 or less. Anguished Unmaking obviously is removal. Clutch of the Undercity is cool because it has 2 different things that I can do with it. Obviously, I can return a creature or a permanent to the hand, but I can also transmute it and get a 4-caster from my deck by discarding it. Counter Squalls, Counter Spell, so is Swift Silence. They're both useful in lots of different circumstances. Plus Swift Silence gets me some card draw, so that's kind of cool. Alright, so blue non-creatures, we got Trickster's Talisman, Elminster's Simulacrum, Reflections of Lichara, Iranius' Vile Duplication, Copy Artifact, Infinite Reflection, Mirror Mockery, Security Bypass, Zephyr Charge, Diplomatic Immunity, Show and Tell, and Disrupting Shoal. Disrupting Shoal's Counterspell, pretty simple. Show and Tell is cool because I have huge creatures in here. And it's kind of like a game of chicken to see if they think they have something better than me, which they probably don't. Security Bypass and Zephyr Charges, Evasion, giving it flying, or with Security Bypass making it unblockable. Diplomatic Immunity kind of saves a creature that I have on the battlefield, gives it Shroud. And Diplomatic Immunity itself can't be the target of spells or abilities, which is kind of cool. And then the other 7 on the other side there, those are all copy effects. They copy my stuff or my opponent's stuff. Iranius' Vile Duplication is really cool because it makes a copy that isn't legendary. So you can start doing some crazy stuff with that. Alright, finally creatures. I have all the colors here. We got Mirror Entity, Soul of Eternity, Scuttling Doom Engine, Phyrexian Dreadnought, Kiru Bloodsucker, Obnixilis the Fallen, Yargle, Reservoir Kraken, Phyrexian Ingester, Ludovic's Test Subject, Thought Monitor, Icebreaker Kraken, Deep Sea Kraken. We got Clone, Mirror Image, Vesuvian Doppelganger, Renegade Doppelganger, Vesuvian Shapeshifter, Mercurial Pretender, Body Double, Sakashima the Imposter, Dakin Blackblade, Bane, Lord of Darkness, Evil Twin, the Ever-Changing Dane, Dimir Doppelganger, and Krydle of Baldur's Gate. Now Mirror Entity is in there because I can change my creature's power and toughness, and they gain all creature types, which is useful for the shapeshifter theme in the deck. Soul of Eternity can get a power and toughness equal to my life total. I can also encore it and put a bunch of them into play, which is really cool. Scuttling Doom Engine is really cool because when it dies, it does damage to my opponents. So if I copy it, I can get a whole lot of damage really quick to my opponents. Phyrexian Dreadnought is fun as hell, and I want to use it. So it's in here. I can get some big creatures out, and I can kind of play the Dreadnought to make it 12/12, you know, and Halfdane can copy its power and toughness. Kiru Bloodsucker's in there because when a creature with a toughness of 4 or greater dies, I can have each opponent lose 2 and I gain 2, which is good for life gain and keep me sustaining. Obnixilis the Fallen is there because with the landfall trigger, he can get really big really fast, and that's good to have Halfdane copy his power and toughness. Yargle, same thing with Phyrexian Dreadnought. It's cool as hell, and I want to use it. It's 9/3. It's only 5 to cast, so I can get it out pretty quick and have like 2 9/3s on the board, and if I get some evasion, it's really good. Reservoir Kraken is an awesome card. With the Ward and Trample, it's a 6/6. It's a big card. It does, you know, your opponent can kind of stall by tapping untapped creatures, but you get blockables out of it, so it's a win-win. Phyrexian Ingester is really good if you have a big creature in the graveyard. You can exile it to make Phyrexian Ingester huge. Ludovic's Test Subject, you put Ashland counters on it. If it gets 5 or more, you transform it into a 13/13. A Thought Monitor is card draw, and if I copy it, I can get more cards out of it, which is really useful. Icebreaker Kraken is the only reason that I have snow-covered lands in the deck, because it costs 1 less for each snow-covered land I have in play. And Deep Sea Kraken is an unblockable big creature with Suspend. So it's something I can get out and copy it, possibly have a bunch of big unblockables in play. And then the shapeshifters are the next two columns there. They're all pretty much similar abilities for the most part. Some of them do affect some of the stuff in the graveyard, which is the reason why I had some of that stuff in the deck that I mentioned earlier. Fun fact, the Vesuva Doppelganger is actually the first rare I ever got in a pack. I actually got it in a starter deck of Revised, and that is the first one I have right there. It's a beautiful card. I love it. It's one of my favorite cards. And then the multicolored stuff, obviously we have the ever-changing Dane, which is perfect. It just came out not that long ago, so it had to go in the deck. Dimir Doppelganger. Evil Twin is really cool. It's a fun card. I get to, copy my opponent's creature and then kill it. Bane, Lord of Darkness is really useful because I can get card draw out of it. Or I can put a creature onto the battlefield with lesser toughness, which is cool because the shapeshifters generally are not very big. So it's easy to get them into play and copy stuff because they don't have a big power and toughness in your hand, and the stuff you have on the board does. And then Cridle Baldur's Gate is evasion. I can use it for anything I've got on the board, or if I really want to kill them with commander damage, I can use it for Halfdane. Alright, so that's it for Halfdane, deck number 100. Any questions, please comment. Leave a message in the comments. Let me know what you think. As always, like and subscribe my videos, and I look forward to joining you again for deck number 99.